No. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. No. No. Sit. Sit. Leave it. Leave it. Sit. 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 No. 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 Drop. 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 Sit.
Welcome everyone. We'll just wait for another 4 minutes and then we'll start the session. Another 2 minutes, guys, and then we'll start. Thank you for your patience for waiting.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Kalpana.
Are we good to start?
Yes, yes. 4-5 on the spot.
Yeah, so a very pleasant evening to all of you. Please excuse me for not switching on my camera. I'm not carrying my webcam. So I'm very excited for today's session. And in the past few days, I'm receiving queries regarding what our Friday fleet is. So I'll take a minute or two to mention about it. We have started this initiative a year back. In a simple language, it is a community dedicated to support female professionals, to support each other and to get support for ourselves. And fortnightly, we come up with a session either on technical or self-help topic. Like today, we have very learned speaker, Priyanka Shengar, who is going to talk about green finance, a very important and topic which will help us to know about a new area of practice, non-traditional area of practice. So we are having our session on these, and soon we are going to come up with a kind of a hand holding for the females in our community. And without taking much time, I will hand over to Sunita for introducing our speaker of the day. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to our speaker and Sunita for limiting the time for this session.
Thank you, Kalpana. Good evening, ladies and everyone else, Jen. Today's topic is related to an area and subject which is gaining momentum globally. Sustainability is not just a buzzword these days. The rising global temperatures caused by industrialization, excessive consumption of natural resources, pollution, ozone layer depletion have made all the countries across the globe acknowledge and take steps for a sustainable approach. The adoption of landmark agreements like the Paris Climate Change Agreement, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals provide a framework for a global action on addressing climate change, promoting social equality, and protecting our ecosystems. India, being a signatory to the Paris Accord, and introduced the requirements of ESG reporting in 2012. BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainable Reporting Framework, was also introduced in 2021, and it ensures that corporates provide investors insights by disclosing environmental, social, and governance parameters. From financial year 22-23, top 1,000 companies, listed companies, based on their market capitalization, have mandatory reporting requirements on the non-financial factors under the BRSR framework. Companies these days need to focus on triple bottom lines, including people, planet, and profitability, using ways and means to socially and environmentally become responsible. So there is a need for more responsible economic systems, which has given rise to the need and concept of green financing, which necessarily provides financial products and services aimed at supporting our sustainable development. Now, ensuring the effectiveness of green finance initiatives requires a robust framework for audit and taxation. So today, Priyanka will discuss these concepts. We'll dive into how audit and taxation mechanisms can be aligned with green finance goals, the challenges faced, and the critical role they play in driving a sustainable economic future. Let me introduce you all to our speaker. Priyanka Sengar, a chartered accountant, is a versatile finance enthusiast with 12 years of work experience across consulting, education, technology, industry, and public finance sectors. She has a commerce background, is a law graduate, and is currently pursuing PhD in economics from IIM Jammu. She works as an internal audit officer with the Nagaland University. Her work with Nagaland police families on income augmentation has been widely appreciated and recognized by Director General of Police, Nagaland. Please join me in welcoming Priyanka. Priyanka, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Sunita ji, for the wonderful introduction. I would like to thank Kalpana ji also for starting this Friday Fleet series. I think it's indeed a very good idea to share a common platform and disseminate our technical knowledge as well as self-help motivational things on this platform. Am I audible, Sunita
Yes,
ji?
yes, you're audible.
Okay. And thank you again to all of you who have joined and taken out time for this session. So let me start the session. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So today's topic is green finance, and we'll navigate through the tax incentives and audit compliances for sustainable investments. So before I start this topic, I would like to share a very small story. So let me take you back to the time of World War II. During that time, US soldiers were sent on South Pacific Islands for some operation. There, during the operation, they were provided with a chemical which was used to counter uh, malaria causing insects and parasites. So this chemical, it was helpful in eradicating this malaria causing insects, parasites and other insects as well. So this was an effective solution to counter different categories of insects, and this became a successful solution thereon. From there, it disseminated to Europe, where it was used as a delousing powder as well. So the chemical which I'm talking about is none other than DDT, dichloro trichloroethane. Now, why I'm talking about this DDT is that because this was one chemical which was widely used from there on, starting from the warfare to our civilian use. Slowly and steadily, this chemical, it penetrated into our civilian use and it started to be used in agriculture, crops, etc. So the basic foundation why I'm narrating this story is because this incident particularly started off for awareness in environment protection. So what happened is that there was one nature writer, author I should say, with the name Rachel Carlson. She was also a marine biologist who was working with US wildlife and fisheries. One day, she received a letter from her friend saying that in the area of Massachusetts, which is in US, she said that here we are experiencing death of large number of birds because of spraying of one chemical known as DDT. So this chemical, it was creating a havoc in the ecological balance in that area. This shook Rachel. She decided to research on this topic, and then what she found out was extremely shocking. She found that this chemical slowly and steadily entered into our food supply chain, and then it entered into the animals, including humans, which altered their uh, what to say, structure, and it caused cancer amongst the human beings. Now, this was one event which started, a stir amongst the citizens of that area. Rachel has very well defined this incident and this entire research in her book, which is called as The Silent Spring. So, from here, I would like to start this topic because this incident laid the awareness towards this green finance initiatives. So, let's start with the green finance. What is it? How it is done? What are various components? What are the instruments used in this green finance? Is my screen visible? Sunita ji?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yes, it's
Okay,
visible.
okay. So let me start with the definition. So green finance refers to the financial investments which help in environmental sustainability and related activities such as renewable energy, pollution control, and climate change mitigation. Major areas are renewable energy in terms of solar and wind, energy efficient activities, controlling the pollution, and employing infrastructure which are sustainable. What is the objective of this green finance? Green finance is basically to increase the level of financial flows, whether through banking, microcredit systems, insurance instruments, investments from public, private, and not for profit sectors for sustainable development priorities and activities. The main objective is to manage the environmental and social risk and take up such opportunities that bring both a decent rate of return as well as ensuring that our environment is protected. And it also helps to ensure that there is an accountability while using the resources of the nature. Let us start with the chronology from where the green finance started, how it went, and till date, how is it going? So we start from late 1960s and 70s. The story which I just narrated, it, it started from this time period wherein we saw the rise of environmental awareness with the publication works like Rachel Carlson's Silent Spring, leading to establishment of early environmental policies. Then in 1972, there was UN Stockholm Conference, which was the first major international environmental conference which laid the foundation for this kind of global environmental policy. After that, in 1980s, we see that there was an emergence of sustainable development concept, which emphasized that there should be a balance between the economic growth as well as environmental protection. Then, during 1987, we brought one Brundtland report, which formally introduced the concept of sustainable development, and again, it framed the global environmental policy. During 1990s, there was an early uh, green investment initiatives and introduction of environmental legislations. Many countries they started introducing environmental laws, and slowly these green investments began to emerge as a sustainable practices. Then we come up to 1997, where we see the rise of Kyoto Protocol, which established carbon markets. It helped to develop mechanisms for carbon trading, and it was a significant step in global environment finance. During the period of 2000s, there was a growth of green finance. We saw there was a rapid growth in this green finance, and various financial instruments which supported at environmental sustainability were brought into picture. During the time of 2007, we see that first green bonds were issued by European investment banks, which was a key milestone in this green finance market. In 2015, we saw that there was a Paris Agreement, which was basically important for green finance in achieving global climatic goals. We all know that every year we have such global climatic conferences all over the world to counter such climatic changes. So it was the green finance was part of this conference. By late 2020s, we saw that there was a need for standardization and innovation in green finance. This current decade is now emphasized on standardizing the practices in green finance and integration of new technologies like fintech and blockchain. Now, let's understand who are the stakeholders and what are their roles and responsibilities. So, if you see in the picture, we have three levels. One side, there is citizens who are willing to pay, become aware, and ensure that they lead an environment-friendly lifestyle. Second side, we see second pillar, I should say, it's business. The business has to impart financial, technical innovation, as well as they have to employ their managerial role and local knowledge, and also actively engage in their backward and forward linkages in this environmental protection activities. Final pillar would be the government, which would be providing with regulatory framework, institutional setup, tariff designing, as well as providing subsidies and guarantees in these environment protecting activities. Now, let me take you through the types of green finance instruments. So, this is not the entire list, but I'm trying to enlist few important ones. So, some of the types of green finance instruments include green bonds. It's a type of fixed income instrument that are used for sustainable and environment friendly projects. So, the World Bank issued its first green bond in 2009. Then we have green loans. It's a type of financial instrument that is again funding the sustainable or green projects in the form of credit. Then we have social bonds. It's a type of a debt instrument which refinances the social projects that are addressed towards the common problems and the most vulnerable issues of the society. Then we have green equity. Green equity is basically investment in those companies which are engaged in environmental friendly activities. These companies generally they either produce some environment friendly products or they are providing some environment friendly services. Then we have this climate finance. It's a type of finance which is at national or local financial investments which are made basically out of public finances. These are the basic measures to counter the climate changes which are happening throughout the world. Now let's have an overview of the green financial instruments. How are they faring and what are the numbers actually we are looking at? So I have taken this data from UN website and the data is pertaining to year 2021 and 22. So if you see the green bond issuance during the year of 21-22, we have reached around $1.3 trillion. And if we see the social bonds and sustainability linked bonds, it is reaching around $3.5 trillion. Then we have this climate finance funds, which is reaching nearly 1.3 trillion annually. And these are absolutely driven for renewable energy and clean transport. So if you look the perspective of India, India is playing a major role in Asia. It's a major player in Asia with country's first sovereign green bonds were issued in 2023, that's last year. And we were able to raise around 16,000 crore rupees out of these sovereign green bonds. Major corporations like SBI and NTPC are leading in issuing these green bonds for renewable energy. So the value of green bonds, which are trading currently on global level, it can hit around 2.36 trillion globally by 2023. That's last year. And if we see the top three green bond issuers, they are US, China, and France. So what we observe is that these green bond issuers are basically the first world or the developed countries. So we are trying to cope up, the developing countries like India, they are trying to cope up with such kind of green bond issue. Now, what are the projects which typically fall under this green finance umbrella? So it will include renewable energy, energy efficiency, something like energy optimization, activities or projects related to pollution control and prevention, projects related to biodiversity conservation, projects related to circular economy initiatives, projects related to sustainable use of natural resources and land. It also focuses on certain projects which are on sustainable and waste management. So let's look at the green finance government initiatives in India. So it's necessary to understand what kind of schemes have been run by our government and what benefit we can derive from it. So first scheme is FAME India. So the objective is to promote electric vehicles, that's the clean energy, which I was talking in the previous slide, through the financial incentives. So our target is 30% electric vehicle adoption by 2030. Then there is National Clean Energy Fund. The objective is to finance renewable energy and clean technology projects. The funding source of this fund is from the cess, which is levied on the coal production and imports. Coal, again, is a very heavy carbon producing industry. So, obviously, the government has introduced some clean energy cess on it. So, this clean energy fund is impacting around 25,000 crores since inception. Then we have National Hydrogen Mission, which aims to make India a hub for a green hydrogen production and export. Next one is sovereign green bonds. This was introduced in 2023, and its main objective is to fund the sustainable projects through such bonds. So our first issue is expected to raise 16,000 crores. Then we have Green Energy Corridor project, which is useful to integrate renewable energy into a national grid for developing a transmitting infrastructure. Our aim is to achieve 450 gigabyte of renewable energy by 2030. Then we have this PAT scheme, Perform, Achieve, and Trade. So it reduces the energy consumption in high intensive energy consumption industries by providing tradable energy saving certificates. So often in these high energy intensive industries, they are provided with such energy saving certificates as a concession or an incentive. So these certificates can be traded on a global market as well. So the impact is target energy savings equivalent to 15 million tons of oil by 2030. Now let's look at the tax incentives and audit compliances. What are the taxation benefits for these green projects? So let me highlight you the key tax incentives which is given by Government of India for such green projects. So we have this accelerated depreciation. So for all the projects which have made investments in renewable energy like solar, wind, and biomass, up to 40% of depreciation benefit is given under Section 32 of the Income Tax Act. Then we have Section 80IA of the Income Tax Act, which gives a tax holiday for 10 consecutive years for the companies which are involved in generating power from these renewable resources like wind, solar, and hydroelectric power. Then we also get concessional GST rates on solar power generational system, wind turbines, and other renewable energy equipment. Then we have carbon credit trading. So income from all these carbon credits are earned by companies can be taxed at concessional rates, encouraging industries to invest in projects that reduce greenhouse emissions. So these carbon credits are basically earned by the companies which are these carbon credits, I should say, these are kind of a permit which is given to a company for emitting a particular amount of greenhouse gases. So, for example, one carbon credit equivalents to emission of 1 ton of carbon dioxide. What are the global taxation trends in green finance? So, current trend is carbon pricing and trading. So, increased adoption of these carbon pricing mechanisms like cap and trade and carbon taxes by countries across the globe. For example, like European Union, Canada, and New Zealand. Then we have tax relief for these green bonds. So several countries, they are trying to offer tax relief on the interest income which is generated from these green bonds, which encourage the investments in environmentally sustainable projects. Then we have energy efficient tax incentives. Countries like US, they offer tax credit, or I should say tax incentives, just like deductions in our country, for energy efficient improvements in businesses as well as homes. So now let's look at the audit perspective and compliance.
May I interrupt you, Priyanka? There was a question in the chat and it was pertaining to this, so I thought that I'll just ask you to take that.
Yeah, please.
Shifali is
Please,
asking,
please.
electrical vehicle manufacturers will also be eligible for availing these incentives?
Yes.
The
yes.
ones that you mentioned, the GST as well as the reduced the moratorium for the tax incentive liability?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes. Yes, they would be eligible.
and
They
what
would be
about
eligible.
the people who are generating batteries and all? So those also are covered by this?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Please come again.
Renewable batteries, that also comes under the green finance bracket?
Renewable batteries are basically into recycling or upcycling.
Right.
So I think we are yet to have a proper specification in the laws and regulations for
Okay.
this upcycling projects.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other doubt?
That was just one question.
Okay, may I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay, so now let's look at the importance of auditing in green finance. Why is it important? So, as we are all professionals here, we understand that what are the basic pillars of auditing in green finance. It's basically to ensure transparency and accountability in our audits. So, basically, audit has to ensure that there's a complete transparency and accountability for all the funds that has been raised in these green projects. Secondly, there has to be a verification of the environmental impact, which means that every project which is making an impact on or the outcomes of the project has to be verified and evaluated in the to ensure that the benefits of the green investments are in order. Then we have risk management. The auditing helps to identify and manage financial, environmental, and regulatory risks associated with green finance. Since we all understand that green finance has a very huge outlay, it's necessary for every business entity to manage their risk while investing in these green finance. So, as chartered accountants or as professionals, what are the areas we are looking to explore? So, we can look at green bond pricing and certification. So, green bonds, whenever they are issued, there has to be a certain pricing which has to be evaluated and certified. So, this can be one lucrative area to explore. Second is carbon accounting and offsetting audits. So all these carbon emissions, they are now being accounted to understand how the carbon credit certificates will be given. So here carbon accounting and offsetting audits are gaining importance. Then we have impact reporting audits. Now, every project which is come into the picture has to, provide the impact or the outcomes. So this comes in the form of impact reporting audits. Then we have environmental, social, and governance performance audits. Next on, we have this compliances with government incentives and tax benefit. Oftentimes, people invest and they forget about the government incentives and the tax benefits which are available to them. So, as uh, uh, professionals, we can always guide them, we can always advise about the best of what incentives and tax benefits are available. Then it's a very futuristic area, technology and data integrity audits. That is when the blockchain or any other cryptocurrency is used for this carbon trading. We have to do an audit whether this is secure, accurate, and in order. So let us look at the compliances. So as auditors, we need to check for the compliances with national and international standards. So since it's a new topic, I won't go into the details, but I would just go through the outline, like what are the major points which we look into the compliance. So we have green bond principles and which have four components. That is one, use of proceeds. We have to ensure that what are the objectives, goals, and of the project, and is the legal documentation is in place. Then second is the process for project evaluation and selection. Then it's very necessary to understand what are the variables involved in that project and how those variables are selected for evaluation of the project as a whole. Then third point is management of proceeds. So whatever money is received in any project, that has to be managed properly and accounted. Finally, the reporting. Reporting part is the summary of from the issuance till the usage till the final outcome. So again, it's the entire summary of the project. Then we have environmental, social, governance criteria. So this criteria focuses on two factors, that is use of proceeds. The auditors must verify that the funds raised from these green bonds or the green finances are exclusively for these green projects. It should not be done that a portion of it is involved in green projects and the portion of the funds issued should be involved in any other project. So this has to be ensured very strictly. Second is the impact assessment. We need to ensure that there is an environmental impact and the sustainability metrics are reported by the organization. It should show the outcome of the activities which are taken into account during the duration of the project. Now, further in audit, we have this audit. How are what are the responsibilities during the audit? So it's very necessary that we should detect and report any cases of greenwashing, and we should validate the authenticity of the company's sustainability claims. Then we have ESG reporting and assurance in place. Then we have to have environmental, social, ESG audits, as we talked in previous slide, and we have to ensure that there is a third party assurance while their verification is being done to enhance the credibility. Then we need to have frameworks and standards. So there are global reporting initiatives and sustainability accounting standards board which have prescribed certain frameworks and standard for this auditing. Then there is a mandate for green bond audits to issue a post issuance report. So the auditors have to verify all the ongoing allocations as well of the proceeds to eligible projects. So whenever the project is ongoing, every part of proceed has to be in detail verified and assured that it's utilized for absolutely green activities, not any other activity. Then we have to evaluate the environmental outcomes and the impact assessment related to bond as well. Let's look at
I'd
the
like to,
checklist.
sorry to interrupt you, but there was a
Yeah,
question
please, Reena.
regarding
Yeah.
what is greenwashing. So because that is pertinent to your previous slide, so I thought that I'll ask you to
Yes,
share that
yes, yes.
information.
So greenwashing is basically when the companies make false claims that they are investing in uh, sustainable activities. or green activities, but in reality, it is not being done so. So suppose if they are investing in some kind of production of some item which they claim that it's being utilized from the waste, uh, it's energy optimizing product, but in reality they are utilizing more resources, they are generating more carbon out of its production, then it is termed as greenwashing, basically making false claims about green activities. So this is greenwashing. Am
I,
I clear?
I, yeah. I also have a question over here, Priyanka,
Yeah, please.
regarding the greenwashing as well as the assurance that is given. So
Yeah,
the assurance is not on all the factors, right? As per the BRSR, you just have the 9 core points on which you're reporting, right?
this is
BSR is a
on.
core. Uh, so is this
Sorry.
so in BRSR core, the
uh,
reporting is on 9 parameters, right? 9 principles.
yeah, yeah.
So does that is that covered in this, or this is apart from the the assurance
It has
reporting?
to be, yeah, it has to be reported in the audit as a part of the procedure audit, and it has to be, that's what I was explaining in earlier slides, that all the activities have to be in detail audited, and they have to be seen that whether all the either the money invested or the activities undertaken, they should be solely and exclusively for green activities. It should not be partial in nature, that partial portion is invested in green activities and partial is invested in some carbon creating activities. So
Right.
all these factors have to be taken into account, especially if there is any activity related to greenwashing, then it must be highlighted or flagged in the report.
And this audit can only be done by chartered accountants, right? The green bond audit, the
Yeah,
green
generally,
finance
see,
audit.
yeah, generally these days they are taking up government agencies to take up these green audits, since only the large organizations, they are, getting aware, and they are taking up these green audits. So they generally employ some government agencies who are involved in this green audit process, but ultimately these government agencies also outsource these kind of audits to uh, professionals and experts like chartered accountants and other people who claim that they have expertise in this audit.
Okay.
So this area is, kind of lucrative, and it's untouched basically, and it is upcoming. So
Right.
that's why if we, kind of put up our initiative to approach these government agencies who are taking up this audit, easily we can get any project for this audit.
Yeah. So my query was regarding with respect to the fact that BRSR reporting and ESG reporting can be done by chartered accountants and any other officials, and you have your social auditors and all, right? So does
Yeah,
that also work for green finance auditing and reporting that you're talking about? Is that open to all?
yeah, it's open to all.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So may I continue?
Sorry, there's one more question. How
Yeah.
can we get project for green bond audit? Any specific course that needs to be done?
Sorry, how can we?
Get a project for green
Okay.
bond audit.
Okay.
And is there any specific course that needs to be done? Preksha is asking that.
No, I think so far there's no professional, eligibility criteria. Only thing is, I think they'll look for certain experience, whether you have in this environmental field, have you worked in such kind of projects earlier. But I think as a start, if you approach some renewable energy companies for smaller assignments, then it would be easier to take up bigger projects with the government agencies. So I think that would be a good start to first approach any renewable companies, renewable energy, companies, and start their small work like certification and all. And whenever they are going for this issuance of bonds and all, definitely they'll outsource the work to some professional experts. So I think accordingly they can work out the connections.
Oh, thank you. Do you have a list of such companies that are there that you want to share with us, with the audience?
I think I am not having currently right now, but I would put up in the WhatsApp group if it is
Yeah, thank you.
once
That
I
would be,
compile.
yeah, that
Huh.
would be helpful. Yeah, for those who are
Okay, so
interested in getting information.
yeah, so in fact, for central universities also, I'm talking about my university also. So every year we have this NIRF ranking of all the universities, and there are various criterias to evaluate this NIRF ranking. One of the rank criteria is this green audit. So mandatorily, all the universities have to get this green audit done. So generally, me sitting here in a central university will not directly go to any professional, but will go to some government agencies. And through government agencies, any professional can get the work outsourced. So I think that could be a correct way of approaching for these green audits. Can I continue? Sunita ji, can I continue?
Yes, please.
Uh, any other doubts?
No, no, no. This has been sorted.
Okay. So I was talking about auditors can verify the ongoing allocation of proceeds to eligible projects. Then we have to evaluate the environmental outcomes and impact assessment related to these bonds. Then what are the challenges and opportunities? So let's look at the challenges. So there's a regulatory uncertainty. That is, we don't have any uniform global standards for green finance instruments like green bonds and carbon credits. So different policies are being followed in different countries, which creates kind of complexities for those companies who are operating in different parts of the world. Second is again greenwashing. So the company which are making false claims or exaggerated claims about their environmental impact, that's again the greenwashing. It leads to mistrust amongst the investors. Then there is data and transparency issues. There's an inconsistent or inadequate environmental data which makes it difficult to assess the real impact of green investment. Then for ESG reporting, there's a lack of standardization. So this complicates comparison between two projects since we don't have any proper standards for this ESG reporting. Oftentimes, when we take up the reports, we cannot make a clear cut comparison between the projects. Then we have a high initial cost. As I was talking earlier, all these projects are very high upfront cost, and this makes very less attractive to the investors because the incentives or the actual benefits are reaped over a long period of time. Let's look at the opportunities. So there is a growing investor demand for this climate change bonds, green bonds, sustainable funds, and this is creating a robust market. Then we have government support. Many countries they offer tax incentives, subsidies, and grants for such green finance projects. Like India, I just enlisted in the previous slides. We have FAME scheme. Then European Union has a Green Deal. Then we have global initiatives like Paris Agreement, which reinforces the need for green finances in achieving these climate targets. Then we have various technological advancement, just like fintechs integrating blockchain and AI to ensure that there is a transparency, efficiency, and traceability in such carbon trading and green finance. So technology always helps us to make better measurements and reduce the risk of greenwashing, but again, that has to be checked back. Transition to low carbon economy. Green finance has always played a role in reducing the carbon footprint in our economy. So, all the investments which are uh, allocated towards these renewable energy, electric mobility, and sustainable infrastructure, they help to reduce the carbon footprint in the economy. So, new business opportunities for companies to meet the growing consumer demand for sustainable products and services. These days, we are all aware and we are moving towards sustainable products, services, upcycling, recycling, all those things are into picture. Now, what are we looking at the future in green finance? So, India's future in green finance is making significant strides, and we have, as we have seen, we have ample supportive government policies and tax incentives in place to drive these investments in sustainable projects. So, way forward, we see that there should be an increased collaboration between public and private sectors to meet the climate goals and ensure that there's a long-term sustainability. So the final impact would be that we have a green supply chain, we have a reduced carbon footprint, we are conserving our resources, we are reducing our waste management is done, and finally we are working towards a better future and better economy. So this is all from my side. Any other? The forum is open for the questions.
Anyone has any other questions? So I have a question of my own till someone else asks. May I
Yeah,
ask you one
yeah,
question?
please.
So the
Yeah,
other
please.
day, we saw in the papers that there was a pledge by all the big companies that they are going to create at least $386 billion support for green energy. So
Yeah.
when we are talking about green energy, so what I understand of green finance is that so now for these companies to sustain their commitments for having renewable energy and green energy, the bonds or the support from the financial institutions that they get would come under the category of green finance, right? Or
Yes. Yes.
they would. So that would also be a part of green finance. So if banks are lending directly to these companies, that would also come under the ambit of green finance, even though they are not raising specific bonds or specific instruments and uh,
So the main focus is that all these funds which are procured from various institutions and banks for this green energy has to be properly reported as green engaged in green activities.
green activities,
That's what
right?
I was. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Many a times, what happens is that the funds are taken from the banking institutions and they are not necessarily used for this green energy or green activities kind of the allocation is not done properly. So in
Right,
those cases there is a mismatch, and then the reporting is not up to the mark. So automatically there's a grading system also for the companies. So all those companies who are into major green activities, they are given a higher grade for these kind of green loans as I was talking about.
right.
So that's why it's very essential as an auditor also that the reporting is done properly, and it has to be ensured that all the funds which are taken has to be allocated or dedicated for green activities to reap the benefits of the taxation incentives and whatever subsidies are provided by the government.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Anyone else
Yeah,
has any other
welcome.
questions?
Most welcome.
We still have 6 minutes, so guys, this is your chance of finding something new.
Yeah.
A very, very upcoming stream, sustainability and ESG reporting and green
Yeah.
finance,
Yeah.
green and renewable energy. This is all something that for India specifically. In the European and US markets, I believe this has been going on, and IFRS is also doing quite a lot. You have GRI
Yeah.
that has been uh, getting up guidelines and frameworks set in, and there are
True.
standards also that they've come up, right? But
True.
India has been lagging behind, and now we have our
Yeah.
uh, commitments for 2070, right? If I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
we've
yes, yes,
revised our commitments from 2050 to
yes,
2070 for our
yes,
green goals.
yes. So, so what I'm looking at is that since the government is taking a mandate to ensure these green energy audits.
Yes, Priyanka, we lost you. Are you
Yeah,
speaking?
yeah, yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So since now our government in India is also making these green energy audits as a mandate in major organizations, especially the government, central government organization, slowly and steadily it will penetrate to the private sector also. That's what I'm foreseeing,
Mhm.
because this is one of the very key areas of discussion at a global platform also. So eventually, this will have a lot of scope in near future regarding the green bonds, how their pricing is done, how their audits are done, how effective the projects are, what impact it's making. So all these things will be of it will create space for the experts who are into this field.
The supply chain and value chain partners will not be covered in these green bond financing and all, right? It is all more on a bigger, larger scale, and for larger projects, green bonds are given. Is that is my understanding correct, or?
So far, there's not a specification, as I was already mentioning in the slides, that there's no standard format, and standardized and specified policies are yet to come. So I think they'll come up with proper classification for all the bigger organization, mid-size, and the smaller firms. So
Because
far, though, yeah,
yeah, because if you see the SMEs and MSMEs who are exporting out of India, so by
yeah,
default, if they are engaging with European and US counterparts, so they are
yeah,
required to do some kind of a ESG reporting,
correct,
even though
correct,
it is not, they do not come under the top 1,000 companies, but because of the
correct,
connection with that. So
correct.
will they be liable, eligible for green financing, direct green financing or green financing through green bonds?
Yeah, so in few of the projects, if you see that whenever they are entering into the agreement, all these European companies would ask for a ESG report.
Right.
So they are very particular that all the documentation, all the ESG reporting, all the legal documentation, they have to be in place.
Mhm.
Since these kind of projects, they involve huge cost. So our counterparts in outside India, they are very cautious about documentation and reporting side. So they would obviously insist on these ESG reporting, all these green audit. It's a shorter version. Green audit is a shorter version of ESG reporting.
Right.
So they would so far we don't have a proper format, specified format, but they have a major pointers which have to be included in this ESG reporting. So those things have to be mentioned in the report. Those impact variables which are making an impact assessment. So all those things have to be taken into account while preparing such reports.
And if a MSc or SME is actually abiding with all the laws and regulations and frameworks and reporting aspects, so then they
Yeah,
are eligible to get financed also from
yeah.
from the
So
institutions and all.
yes. So there's
There's one doubt
one.
I have over here. If when you are talking about MSMEs and green financing, there are
Yeah.
there is a certification called Z certification, which is especially there for MSMEs.
Hmm.
Is it not an existing way getting financed? Are being provided green finance? Because
See,
Z certification is something whereby you have concessions in taking up loans as well, and this gives a certification that there is like zero waste, which you are doing zero defect and zero waste to
zero
the
waste.
environment.
So, in previous slides, as you might have gone through, I was mentioning one point that across the countries, they're having different standard and different policies for this green finance and green audits. So oftentimes when it also depends what country are we interacting with. They can have a different kind of policy, they can have a different set of agreements, so they can have a different set of formats also, which is required for entering into some kind of deal related to manufacturing or providing services. So all those things have to be taken into account. There's a lack of standardization of these policies and standards. So hence we need to look into a specific country's policies and standards when we are engaging in such kind of uh, assignments. So I hope this is clear for both Sunita ma'ams and Nidhi, your doubt.
Ma'am, ESG audits are conducted by whom? For example, an organization is in manufacturing of electric vehicles, and IREDA has financed some debt to that organization.
Your voice is
Then
cracking,
this
please. Your voice is cracking.
just a minute, ma'am.
Yeah.
I just want to know that ESG audit is conducted by whom? For example, IREDA has done investment in an electric vehicle manufacturing organization, and
Okay.
then मतलब where is this requirement? ESG audit कौन conduct कराएगा? मतलब जैसे इरेडा का जो अगर किसी इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट है और
हम्म
मतलब I'm not able
नहीं
to
सिर्फ
understand that ESG audit मैंडेटरी किसके लिए होगा?
अच्छा, मैं आपको बताती हूँ। जैसे एक कंपनी है ए और वो कहता है कि हमें ग्रीन एक्टिविटीज़ में प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट करना है एंड दे स्टार्ट इशूइंग बॉन्ड्स या फिर ग्रीन इक्विटी उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया, ठीक है? तो उन्होंने फंड रेज़ किया, ग्रीन बॉन्ड्स इश्यू कर दिए और उस फंड से एक प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किया जो स्पेसिफिकली रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी पे है। तो अब ये जो ए कंपनी है, इसका ग्रीन ऑडिट होगा, ठीक है? और ये ऑडिट जनरली अभी फ़िलहाल इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज़ करती हैं। सिंस ये जो ए कंपनी है दैट विल बी अगेन वेरी हाई आउटले कंपनी, तो इनका जनरली गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज़ करेंगी ऑडिट। मैंडेट कौन देता है? मैंडेट गवर्नमेंट देती है या फिर इफ़ दे आर एंगेजिंग इन सम अदर कंट्री देन उसका मैंडेट की वजह से दे हैव टू गो इनटू दिस ईएसजी वाला मैंडेट। तो ये एक आपका एक एजेंसी होगा जो ये आपको एक ऑडिट रिपोर्ट सर्टिफाई करके देगा। अब वो जो एजेंसी होता है वो ऑफन टाइम्स आपको आउटसोर्स कर देता है, प्रोफेशनल्स को आउटसोर्स कर देता है कि ओके आप जाइए, आप किसी प्रोफेशनल को दे देंगे सो एंड सो ए कंपनी इज देयर जिनका ग्रीन ऑडिट होना एंड काइंडली इशू अस दिस ईएसजी सर्टिफिकेट। तो ये इट कुड बी प्रोफेशनल, इट कुड बी अ कंसल्टिंग कंपनी, इट कुड बी एनी प्रोफेशनल एक्सपर्ट जो आपको ये ईएसजी रिपोर्ट करके देगा। आई होप आई एम क्लियर।
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope I'm clear, or do I need to give another example?
No, no, ma'am. It's very clear. It's clear.
Okay, okay.
So in case
Any-
there are no more questions, then it's 5:03, and
Yeah.
if everyone has all their queries sorted, then we can end the session. Okay. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for your time and for sharing such valuable
you.
insights. And we've learned
Thank you.
something new. And we plan to take these sessions, such kind of interactive sessions, forward,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
where we involve some kind of a knowledge share also, and obviously motivational sessions and all will also be part of the Friday feed. But it is always a breath of fresh air when we have a discussion and sharing on something new and something that we can learn, something new that we can learn. So there's one question. I'll just, how can we approach these government agencies for assignments? Any government portal which can you can share. So this is a question
So
by
far,
Meenu.
okay, okay. I'll try to collaborate, a list wherein you can approach these agencies for such kind of audits. since these are very high value projects, so I'm sure there must be a proper advertisement and all, or a tendering kind of thing. So I'll just get back once I have the collaborated information, and I'll definitely share in the WhatsApp group.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Priyanka, for your time. Thank you, everyone, all the participants who were taking the time out
Thank you,
and
Sunita.
sat through the session. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Sunita. Thank you,
Thank you so
Kalpana.
much,
you.
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Priyankam. It was really very nice session.
Most welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Meenu, will you give me your number so that we can add you? Or there's a link that you can go through via LinkedIn. Okay, let me just take your number, then we are going to. Thank you all. Have a great evening and a good weekend ahead. And thank you for sitting in for the session and sharing your views and your questions. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.